Okay, my topic for this one is going to be reality edits, the quantum effect, the Mandela effect. And basically is what we're seeing with these reality edits or Mandela effects, rather than like we thought, maybe a technology or through some method reality being changed, is what we're actually seeing entering into the age of Aquarius, the age of knowing, and 2020 is what we're seeing actually the undoing of changes. And what we had been seeing as reality all the way up until that point was an edited reality, altered through whatever means, through these reality edits. Now, first, before I get to that, I want to touch on the big event, 7/11. September 7/11. The towers. And I've always been really interested in Back to the Future, especially related to 7/11. That movie is deeply intertwined with that event, 7/11. And there's other truth drops too, obviously, but that's the main focus of that movie. And in that movie, one of the 7/11 drops is when he's at the mall, in the scene where Doc Brown is shot by the terrorists. He's standing in front of the sign from the mall, and it says Twin Pines Mall. And I think the time is 1:16 or 1:19, So you flip it over. And then later in the movie, through the misuse of time travel for personal gain, a kind of evil, negative, worse reality comes about. They get pushed onto a worse timeline, bad timeline, through the misuse of time technologies. And the sign changes from Twin Pines to Lone Pine, 2 into 1. Twin Towers, 1 into 1 Freedom Tower. So, something I talked about a while ago, I've always been interested in that, but I've always stuck in my mind, why pines? Why Twin Pines? Why are the towers pine trees? And I've seen that referenced other places too, of the pines, Twin Pines, Now, it reminded me of a story. If you've known me before I started making these videos, you might have heard this before. I wrote a piece about it like a year ago. But so I heard a story. I can't remember where I heard it, but I heard a story from an Algonquin, Native American Algonquin medicine man. And basically what he was talking about was that before we had the internet, there was an organic internet of the earth, and it was a network of the trees. And the way it would work is a medicine man from the tribe, when he needed to broadcast important information or receive information, news from hundreds of miles away or across the continent or across the world, he would go sit under a big pine tree and meditate under the tree, lean his head against it, and through the tree he could send and receive information. And across the world there would be other medicine men sitting under other trees, and it was like a wireless internet through the trees. So that put into my head this idea of the tree as a symbol for an antenna. Like why do they make these cell phone towers look like pine trees when no one believes it's a pine tree. It doesn't serve the purpose. Do you know what I mean? It's like they could make it more like a tree. It's almost on purpose. They'll put like a couple weird branches and it's just a huge cell phone tower. Obviously an antenna. Is this why they make these cell phone antennas look like pine trees, twin pines, the twin towers? So on that event, 7/11, I've also heard it suggested that a third element entered in. Like this was a planned event, but it went haywire. Like maybe they were just going to do the planes or no planes. That would have really been all they needed to pass the Patriot Act, which is the exoteric Hegelian dialectic reason for that event, you know, on one level, on the most surface level. But they didn't need the towers to come down to do that, and it almost seemed like even they were shocked by that. Like maybe that wasn't part of the plan. And we can't view that as only a bad event, because the truth is that was the huge catalyst for this awakening. Like we would not be where we are if it weren't for that. So in a way, that was our break from the system. That was our portal. That was our exit point. So I was wondering, are the twin pines, twin towers, were these like a main broadcasting center system, twin pines, twin antennas, where this mind control overlay was coming from? Like obviously it comes from lots of places, but was this a main transmitter that was destroyed as we entered into the age of Aquarius? And we didn't see everything immediately. It wasn't like, boom, a veil falls like that. But we were able to see. But our minds had to readapt. Like we were able to see, but that doesn't mean that we did see. We slowly started learning and growing and incorporating and accepting the new reality that we could see. So, was that what twin pines means? So then, building off of that with the reality edits, the Mandela effects, what if what we're seeing as changes are actually the undoing of changes? So maybe they've had access to this incredible technology, like Matt says and James says, that they don't have control, obviously, the whole system, but they do have some understanding. Someone has like a couple buttons and a lever. Like maybe there's a whole giant control panel that controls this reality, but something is going on. There's some kind of time tech reality editing force at work here. So what if over hundreds, thousands of years, whatever, maybe just 50 years, it was, in the beginning, would only be used for the biggest things, super important military operations, intelligence operations, maybe to save populations from calamity, or if something goes really wrong, like we could reset, re-edit this. But over time, generationally, you know, when you're born into means, you don't appreciate them. Like we all know lots of people who start a business and they're a really good person, take care of the employees, are super successful, but then the following generation, their children, a lot of times will when they die, they'll sell everything off, take the company public, pump and dump the stock, whatever. They have no loyalty. They were grown. They have no appreciation. So maybe they stopped having appreciation for this technology and started using it for all kinds of little things, just minor financial things. Like they didn't want to pay an actor to reshoot a scene in a movie, and they know they're not supposed to really, but they're like, oh, let's just use the fucking lever real quick. Fucking no one's gonna know. Like the James Bond movie. Maybe the scene was stupid without her with braces. Maybe it was too expensive. They forgot to put the braces on because, you know, someone's an idiot. The director or the prop manager or the makeup artist or whatever. And instead of reshooting the whole scene, getting the actors again, they're just like, let's just use the fucking lever. Let's just use the lever. Like the Bible, okay? And I can't say for sure that the Bible's changed. I can't say that because I didn't know the Bible by heart before. But just intuitively, like now I feel like a lot of people are understanding. We were led to believe that Bible times were like cavemen, prehistoric, mud huts, and no, they didn't have the wheel yet and shit like that. We're coming to understand now that no, these are people just like us. This is basically modern times. There's towers, skyscrapers, machines. You know, it's not what we thought. So, like the Bible change of you don't put new wine into old wineskins. It doesn't say wineskins anywhere anymore. It says wine bottles. People say, that doesn't make any sense. They didn't use bottles back then. You see, this is a corruption. It's supposed to say skins. This is all wrong, all wrong. What if it was supposed to be wine bottles? Because it was just like modern times, and they were just like us, and they did have bottles, glass bottles, and everything we have. And they edited it to wine skins. That was the deception. Like, these are cavemen. All they had was skins. They don't know how to blow glass or have access to any modern technology. The lion shall lay down with the lamb is now the wolf will lay down with the lamb. But actually, the wolf and the lamb fits much better with many other ancient spiritual traditions, like Hindu stuff, Persian fables. I like Gurdjieff. I read a lot of Gurdjieff stuff, and he talks. He has many variations on the wolf and the lamb story, so it works better, and it gives us a picture of a more cohesive spiritual body of work. Like, rather than being divided into camps, like, no, just the Bible, Jesus. The other 3/4 of the people in the world are burning in hell. Like, oh, they've never heard of Jesus, like a undiscovered tribe in the Amazon, but they're gonna burn in hell. Like that, it's not logical. It lacks empathy and compassion for these people. And that's just an ego perspective. That's a I'm right, I'm better perspective. I can't accept it logically. So maybe what we're seeing are things changing back. The towers fell and the overlays started to fail. Berenstain Bears. I'll tell you, the Berenstain Bears, that was the first one I saw in 2015 on the internet, and it was important particularly to me because I did read all those books as a child. My mom would read me those books. That was the main series, like that and Frog and Toad. And who knows, maybe they just didn't like their name. Maybe it wouldn't sell, Berenstain. You know, names are a big thing. A lot of these authors have fake names. They like it to fit perfectly, like on the books, like Stephen King, Tom Clancy. It's like supposed to be like 1 syllable, 2 syllable. Like there's a format for marketing, like even books, even as far as the author's names. And if this is going to be a huge, I mean, those are popular books. I'm sure they generated some serious capital through those books. And that's what I'm saying. Maybe they abused it to such a point that it was just like cosmetic and vain. They were using it for anything they wanted, the people who had access to it. So they changed their name to Berenstain. It's just more palatable. It sells more books. I'm not saying this is true. This is an idea. But even then, I did not accept it immediately. I thought the same thing everyone thought. I thought, oh my God, they changed it on the whole internet. They have total control of the digital world. So I went to my mom's house. She remembers Berenstain too, but you know, she's the type of person obviously that will accept the new way without too much questioning. She said, oh, that's weird. Yeah, it is weird. Anyway, I verified the physical copies say Berenstain. I still didn't fully accept it. I said, okay. So it's not just digital, but it's only in like culture, created cultural constructs. And maybe when you create a new work, a piece of culture, maybe you have some kind of control or tie, connection to that piece in some way that you could still control things you've made if you have access to this technology. But basically, I thought the physical world isn't changing. It can't. So sometime after that, I was driving to work in my van, in this van that I had been driving every day for like 2 years, probably. And when I originally bought the van, it was for partly for a band we were doing to tour. So my good friend who played in a band with me had also spent a lot of time driving the same van all over the country. So we would take turns. So it'll make sense in a minute. I'm driving to work one day. I got something on my face. I pulled the headrest down to look in the mirror, and there's no mirror in the headrest. And there had always been a mirror in the headrest. It wasn't a new car. I wasn't thinking of another car. I mean, every day I would look in the mirror in the headrest, just like that. And it was soon after the Berenstain thing, like that popped my cherry or something, and everything started crumbling. I pulled it down, there's no mirror in the headrest. I mean, I immediately called my friend, who also spent a lot of time driving the van. I said, do you remember there being a mirror in the headrest of the van? He said, yeah, definitely, there's a mirror in the headrest. I said, now there's no mirror. Just, it's always been there. This morning, am I nuts? Or like, there was a mirror there. He's like, I must be thinking of a different truck. You know, like my mom, like they won't pursue that. It's like a little subconscious negotiation takes place real quick, and you decide whether you're going to accept it and move on with your life, or if you can't accept it. You need to know the truth. That's the difference between people like us and the people who aren't interested. Okay, so then I'm going to tell you one more event. This is why I can't, and it sucks. I didn't even want to talk about it because there's a lot of people I like that are very dismissive and aggressive about it. Like, if you believe in the Mandela effect, you're a retard. It's a psyop, bro. Like, and I'm not even saying it's not, but not in the way that you're describing it. Like, it's not just I read something on the internet and I just fell for it. I was just seduced by the idea and incorporated it into my being. No. I'm going to tell one more little story. This is maybe like a year ago. I have plants. My wife runs an organic farm, and I mess around with hydroponics and I'm interested in different kinds of growing, doing little experiments and stuff. So anyway, I have liquid nutrients, and I mix them in big 5-gallon buckets with water. And rather than trying to measure them out in little Pyrex measuring cups or something, I use a big 100 ml catheter syringe for people that have catheters for their urine. And basically I cut like a 1-foot piece of 1/4-inch tubing, and I put it on the tip of the catheter syringe, and this way it's really easy for me to measure out liquid nutrients and mix them into the water. And because of the tube, there's always some residue like what would be left in the tube. I can't plunge it out. So what I do, I put it in the water and I suck water up and push it back out like maybe 10 times to dilute what's still in there and get all the nutrients out, because you can't mix pure nutrients, hard nutrients. Stuff will precipitate out, it'll cause chemical reactions and heat, and stuff will go wrong. They all have to be mixed in water separately. So I to dilute them out. I'm doing this one day, pop! All of a sudden, something flies off the catheter syringe. I thought, what the heck was that? I look, I see it on the ground. It's a little tip, like a little plastic attachment tip that you can push onto the end for, like, if you have a different diameter hose or something. And I thought, where did that come from? Because I'll use the same catheter syringe for like weeks. I'll use it over and over again until the plunger gets too rough, and I just throw it away for another one once it's not usable anymore. But this thing had flown out of somewhere. I couldn't figure out where it came from. It was bizarre. And so I said, wait a second, let me go back. And like a year before, I had bought 100 pack of these catheter syringes, and it was 10 bags of 10 in a bigger bag. So I went over, I opened a brand new bag of 10, and I took these things out trying to see on a brand new one what this little piece was that came flying out of the ether. I don't see anything on them. It's not in there. I said, man, it's weird. It doesn't make any sense. I go back, I look at the little cap, the one I was using again, and I look for where it was attached. I can't find anything. I thought it must just be one different catheter syringe. Like, that's weird. This one is different. But then I thought, no, it's impossible, because I've used it like 10 times already, and there's no way when I'm doing this cranking motion that it wouldn't have popped off the other times. And I thought, wait a second, the open bag is already in there. So I go, there's like 3 left in my last open bag that had come from, and I look, and I finally see that on the actual back of the plunger, there's like a little slot, and this cap is in there on every one. On every new one has this little cap. I thought, what that doesn't make sense. So then I go back, look at the one. Now I see the slot on the little one. Then I go back, look in the brand new bag, and they all have it. They all have a little slot with a little cap. Now every time I use a new catheter syringe, I need to take this piece off first, because the way I violently pump it every time, each new newt, it would get stuck, crack, explode, pop off the first time I tried to plunge it. So what I'm getting at is, it was impossible for those to have been on there the entire time for the year that I've been using it. Now they all have it. It doesn't make any sense. And it was almost like, if I think about it, on the surface level, I'm thinking like logically, trying to deduce step by step, put the sequence of events together. But it's almost like on a deeper subconscious level, it was almost like a negotiation with this force, or with reality, or with like Satan or something, where he's like, don't worry about it, dude. Yeah, it was probably just one wrong thing. And like, I almost accepted it for a second. I'm like, yeah, probably. But then I was like, nah, because I've already been using it. It's impossible. And it was like, all right, well, look, it was just that one bag, that's all. And I said, yeah, it makes sense. This is all subconscious. This is all on a deep level. This negotiation with reality is taking place. And I'm like, yeah, probably just that one bag, yeah. But I can't let it go. That's not how my mind works. I said, no, because they were all sealed, the 10 bags of 10. There can't be one bag different. And I don't know. It was just bizarre. It was almost like, you know, if you've been in a relationship with someone and they cheated on you or something, and they say, look, it won't happen again. it doesn't matter exactly what happened. Let's just move on. And you say, should I just forget about him? And you say, no, it does matter. I need to know. And they're like, fine. Well, but it wasn't a big deal. It was just, okay, that's all it was. And you're like, no, I need to know exactly. And they're like, well, we're breaking up. It's over. That's it. That was almost like on a subconscious level what was happening. And so what happened there? This is just my conjecture. I think that for some stupid little profit corporate reason, they wanted to edit these things to fit like more different brands of like catheter tubing and shit, or it was some kind of compatibility issue where they used the reality lever for something they really shouldn't have used it for. And basically when they did that, it conflicted with my alternate use of this device, where like it wouldn't have fit my 1/4 inch plastic tubing anymore or something. So reality is trying to sort this all out, and there's all these conflicts, and it's trying to figure out who will accept what it can erase, what corners it can cut to smooth it over so this new edited object throughout time will fit for everyone who's come in contact with it. For most people, it doesn't matter. If they used one of them 5 years ago, they're never going to remember. Like, they can be edited. But for me, someone who's using it in the moment, it was a real problem to reintegrate it into reality. And I was making things difficult for it by not accepting it and moving on, by really examining the details in the sequence. Like, I don't know, it was almost like some negotiation taking place. So is what we're seeing the undoing of these changes as we enter into Aquarius? Are the twin towers, the twin pines, are they antennas? Is that why they make the cell phones look like antennas? Is this why wineskins turned to wine bottles? Because it always should have been wine bottles, because they were modern people in modern times. So that is why I can't just write off the Mandela effect. It's not Berenstain Bears. It's not just a life was a box of chocolates. Like, I've had these things just blatantly happen in my personal life where I don't have anyone else to verify it. It's just between me and reality, looking eye to eye, like showdown, you know? I'm facing the other thing is, if you say the Bible can't be changed, will never be changed. You see, it says right here, anyone who changes this book a jot or a tittle, I forget what it says, will have these additional plagues put on their head. You see? Okay, but if it can't be changed, then why is the warning there? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like the jot and the tittle verse. Like, don't change this a jot or a tittle, or you'll get these plagues placed upon your head. If it's impossible to change, if it's fixed supernaturally throughout time, then what you wouldn't need a threat not to change it. You wouldn't have different translations. You wouldn't have an Ethiopian Bible with 33 more books. I mean, and I'm not saying it's not important. I think it's extremely important. I study the Bible every day, along with other spiritual texts and just a lot of other books and films and all other kinds of media that I think are important. Now, like with Back to the Future, with the Twin Pines, all the 9/11, all these different references, there's also one of the big things he changes in that movie is, this goes back to like Satan, Lucifer, the moon, time, one of the main things he has to change is basically in the future, the main character, Marty, is a failure, unhappy, has a bad life, because through his pride and ego, he breaks his left hand in a drag race, and he's a musician, he's an awesome guitar player, so it basically ruins his life. His pride breaks his left hand, and he can't make music, and he needs to fix his pride, error, ego through the time travel, the time science. Now, these truth drops in movies and books, no, I don't think it's all on purpose phoned in. Maybe none of it is. I'm sure some of the more blatant things may be intentional. The author's own understanding of metaphysics and whatnot, they might encode in there. But I think that these things are just accumulate there because I don't know if because the more attention is on a work, a piece of media, a reality, like the truths will be like attracted to it. Like they follow the attention because this reality has to reveal the truth to us. So how would it do that? They would put the truth where the most people would see it. So it's almost like through the reality canals, the insanely improbable circumstance draws these truth drops through coincidence almost into these works. And like I said, maybe they didn't think the towers were going to come down. Then, so what are you saying? So why do they do, if they want to fool us, why the inflated tire at the base? Why the passport? I'm saying, I know this sounds ridiculous, but I think these things might come about just through unimaginable odds. Like maybe the wheel, who the fuck knows? Maybe they were gonna take it to the scene, act like they're there to help rescue people, clean up rubble, and they were gonna put it in the wreckage or something so it would burn up, get damaged, and then later they could just like, oh, we found it, see, it was a plane. There were planes, guys. Here's the part of it right here. But who knows? Maybe the van on its way over got smashed into, T-boned. They pulled it out, tried to put it in another van, but right then a bunch of tourists came by with live streaming cameras, or a news crew came by, and they were like, fuck, we gotta leave it here. They saw it. Maybe something similar with the passport. We can't imagine why. Maybe some harebrained intelligence agent was like, I have a good idea. I'm gonna go out on my own and do this. Like, and his supervisor was like, no, you idiot, don't do that. It's too obvious. It's too late. Someone already picked it up. Like, go get it back. I can't. It's on the news already. Who knows? Who knows? But I don't think that they intend to do these things. I think that they're almost miracles, the way these truth drops are encoded in these media and these events. So, is the Twin Pines, the Twin Towers, is what we think is the Mandela effect actually the end, the undoing of the reality edits? Oh, I'm awesome that James, Matt, Mac1234 Golf, thank you guys for watching my videos and shouting me out and commenting and everything. It's really awesome to have other people to talk to and go back and forth with ideas. I gotta go. Gotta go feed the beast.